pulling a pint, or wiping down the bar, he was hyper-aware of her every move, inexplicably drawn to her smile and sparkling eyes. And she didn't exactly seem immune to his charm. Every time she caught a break, she was down at his end of the bar, chatting about anything and everything until he suddenly realized it was closing time. As Maverick shrugged into his coat, he gave one last look at Bridget on the other side of the bar. Had he been home, he would have asked her out in a heartbeat. But he could tell Bridget wasn't exactly a one-night stand kind of woman, and he'd be leaving in the morning. Reluctantly, he turned and strode out the door to make the cold, lonely walk back to his hotel. The whole scene was surreal that night. Holiday decorations threw multicolored lights everywhere he looked. He stopped to stare at a huge Christmas tree that had been set up in the middle of the main street. It reminded him of those earrings Bridget was wearing, and that his grandmother would be fussing at him and his brother, Paxton, to help her get her tree up as soon as they got home. A few snowflakes drifted from the skies and frosted the pine branches. He looked up, and sure enough, right there on the top of the tree was a shamrock ornament. "Skibbereen goes all out for Christmas." He knew her voice within a split second. He whipped around, and there was Bridget. Her red hair was now covered with a dark green cap, and she was bundled up in a black coat. She barely came up to his shoulder, and her hands were shoved down into her pockets.
"I feel like I'm in a Hallmark movie,"
he joked.
"But it's so beautiful and peaceful."
"I just love Christmas," Bridget said. "We hardly ever get snow, though, so it's a special night indeed." Her eyes were shining as she tilted her head to look up to him. "There are some moments you just never forget." It took all the willpower he possessed not to cup her face and kiss her right there in the softly falling snow.
"Can I see you home safely?"
he asked. "Oh, that's all right. I'm just across the street here." She gestured down the road.
"Well, what a coincidence. That's my hotel there."
He nodded toward where she'd pointed.
"They usually have tea or coffee 24 hours a day if you want to join me for a cup in the lobby."
"I usually do have a cuppa to wind down before bed," she said. "Sure, I'd be happy to join you." Maverick held out his arm to her, relishing the feeling of her sliding close to his body as they crossed the street together and entered the hotel. With their steaming beverages, they sat down on either side of the worn sofa in the lobby and talked until the sun peeked through the windows, its rays making the snow coating the trees and grass shine like diamonds. "I've got scones, jam, and a coffee pot in my flat next door. Would you be hungry?" she asked.
"Starvin',"
he smiled. Bridget might not have known Maverick long, but she felt like she already knew him well. He loved his family, especially his grandmother. He loved the land and described Texas with such great detail, it seemed like she'd taken a trip there herself. He took his coffee black and his bacon almost burned. In her heart, she knew he could be trusted. And sweet Jesus, he was a sexy cowboy. What would it hurt to spend a little more time with him? He'd said he would be leaving that afternoon to catch a plane back to Texas with his grandmother. Besides, she liked to listen to his deep southern drawl. She led the way up the stairs of her building to the second floor and went to room 212. She tried not to fumble with her key as she unlocked the door. "It's just breakfast," she reminded herself. As soon as they entered her flat, it felt like Maverick's big frame took up the whole kitchen. She immediately busied herself with starting a pot of coffee and tried not to think about how close they were to her bedroom. Thank goodness she'd picked up her laundry and made the bed before her shift at the bar. As she got out a container of scones she'd made the day before, Maverick plucked 2 mugs from her little shelf. They didn't even need words. They just moved around each other effortlessly, like they'd been doing the dance their whole lives. When he reached for the first scone, their hands got tangled up together. And after that,